Hello and welcome to chapter 5 of Donker. I hope the other videos have been helpful. So let's keep going with the content. Just get my cat off here. A few interesting chapters. The story is slowly starting to gain momentum. And it will take some hectic twists and turns, as we'll see. Again, please share this video. This one's free still, so go for it. Please share it. And we'll start right away with hoofstuk 5, die man met Google in sy kop, the man with Google in his head. Let me get my red pen here. Greg begin met sy sportswetenskap klasse. Finally starting with his lessons. Okay, that's what he's there for. He's there to study sports science, and that whole orientation week is now finished. Remember where he was involved with that play, which he never pitched up for. And there's some interesting that he can choose within his course. There's paths that he can choose, and he chooses the psychology route. Not surprising. I mean, he was a victim of a whole social manipulation plot from Eckhart, and so that was highly like a psychological trick that he played on him. So psychology is a major theme within this book. Okay, it is like a thriller, psychological thriller type of vibe thing. Okay, so that is the genre, I would say. His dad, he makes a comment. He thinks that his dad sal dit nie goedkeur nie. Sy pa sal dit nie goedkeur nie. His study direction, I mean. Because Lawson College, it's for rich boys. These are for seuns boys that will go into the business world and make a lot of money. It's not for teachers and coaches and sports and psychologists and wishy-washy things like that. It's for people who want to make money. Okay, that's why they send their boys there. This girl, she's quite sweet, Chloe. She's still there. She tries to get him out, invites him around often. She bothers him. He avoids her. He doesn't seem to take to her in any way. And she irritates him and her friend. He finds her quite shallow. I think the things that he has been through has sort of put him on a level where she's not at. Greg, also there's a practical part, praktische deel of his course. The book doesn't talk much about it at all. He chooses rugby as a sport. Remember, he is the rugby player. I think a lot of schoolboys think they are rugby players until they get to university, and then they play against guys 10 years older, then they quit because it's too hard. Perhaps that happened here. There's an anatomy lab where they study, and here the anatomy makes him think of that painting that he has. Okay, Conrad Boerte's the Temptation, and it makes him think about his own existence as a human, so eie existensie, en die sin van sy lewe. Sin there means the purpose, the meaning of his own life. Not surprising that this is a reference in the book. So I did that's the kind of art, that picture there, that's the kind of art that Conrad Boertes makes. He's a South African artist and sculptor. And look, it just take it or leave it, but this is the theme of some of his work, okay? And I just pulled this off the web after reading quite a bit. These two sentences summarize it quite well. It says, when it comes to the content of his work, he's fundamentally drawn towards allegory and its ability to seduce the viewer into a narrative. In other words, make people believe something. Okay, that sounds a lot like, that's quite psychological. That's what Eckhart did to him. That's what his dad did. This is what all three of those men, Doc Pienaar and them, they had a narrative of who they were. That's not the real person. Just that second sentence, growing up during apartheid South Africa, these themes also hold the potential for exploring the intricacies of guilt and complicity. Obviously, Greg sitting with a lot of guilt he was complicit, not complicit, but probably the only reason his father got exposed as a criminal. And complicity also applies obviously to Greg's dad. He was complicit in the whole Project Nursery Rhyme, and so was Eckhart's dad, the lawyer. The judge. Planck listens to, he's in Greg's flat there, he often hangs out there. He listens to Jason Silva. I've never heard of the guy, Google him, doesn't look too interesting. He talks about a lot about AI, the future, die toekoms, kunstmatige intelligensie, and die sin maak van die self, making sense of the self. So again, a similar kind of theme to this art. It just speaks to Greg's introspection. He's looking deep within himself to kind of forge out a new identity, forge out a new personality after what happened to him. And it's typical for someone his age. As Matrix, you'll see now, the growth you have from now until the age of 25 is enormous. You almost become a new person. Nothing that you think is true now, or that you think now, you won't have the same opinions in 5 years' time. I can guarantee you that. Planck has some news. He tells Greg that he's met a girl, Lisa, very, very important character. So the elf gesiggie, she has a little elvish look, black hair, blue eyes. She studies BCom, and Greg sê hy wil graag ontmoet. He really wants to meet her, and obviously that will happen. Planck wil Lisa aan Greg voorstel en hulle beplan om by Kauai te ontmoet. So they have this meeting. So Greg's already there. Greg wag vir hulle by die sentrum. It's in a shopping centrum. And again, a reference to an artwork. Okay, I should have probably researched this a bit more. But Willem Boshoff, it's a little granite little bench, bunkie, with the words broken trust, obviously, but that's quite an obvious reference. Okay, broken trust. Who's broken trust? Eckhart, Greg and his dad. You can probably think of a few more examples. Greg dink aan Eckhart wat hom verraai het. Obviously, he thinks of that betrayal. Then they say his memories, sy herinneringe is soos 'n spinnekop web. So now every time they use this word web, you kind of have to sit up and take notice. It's not by mistake. It's a definite, obvious reference to the title. I think a nice question would actually be, a longer question would be to discuss all the references to a web and all the intricacies and meanings and nuances around that. He says, as jy aan een deel raak, beweeg die hele web. That's how his memories are like a web. It's like a spider's web. If you touch one part, the whole web kind of moves. And so if he triggers one memory, it leads to another memory and another memory. So you kind of have to stop it. Okay. And there I just say it's an interessante sinspeling. Sinspeling means a pun. It's an interesting pun with the title, or interaction with the title. Donker web, it links back to the title. Okay, but then, so Greg is there, he's waiting, and then Lisa and her dad arrive there the dad drops off Lisa and Planck. Okay, obviously to come and meet Greg. But then the dad sees Greg, and there's a big crisis. Okay, he's a afgetrede policeman, a retired policeman, and he recognizes Greg, and he freaks out. Okay, and he warns Greg, waarsku Greg om weg te bly. Stay away from my daughter. You are a terrible person. Okay, we know you're kind. And he instructs Lisa to get back in the car, and they speed away. And there, Planck and Greg is left standing, feeling horrible. Greg is absolutely broken by this, because he really wanted to meet his friend's girlfriend and do something normal that you would do for a good friend. But he's not allowed to, because of his past and because how people judge him. No wonder he is struggling with questions of his own existence, his meaning in life, how his identity, and how he's going to build a future. Interestingly, after it happened, he goes back to that bench in the center, that one that says broken trust. And he's probably wondering, is Plunk forever going to trust him, or is he also going to judge him eventually like the other people? Okay, hoofstuk 6. Die goed wat jy met jou saamdra, the things that you carry with you in your head, in your heart, in your memories. Obviously, Greg voel aaklig. He feels terrible about the incident at the mall. Lisa has not contacted Plunk again. Okay, obviously under instruction from the father. Then Greg and Plunk's actually pretty chilled about it. He's a relaxed guy. The weed probably helps. And they talk about how their fathers influenced their lives, hoe hulle pa's hulle lewens beïnvloed, and the actions of their fathers and the desires and the goals of the father, how they influence their sons. For example, Plunk, he's in Wilgenhof koshuis because his dad was in that koshuis. Greg het per ongeluk sy pa se kriminele dade oopgevlek. Okay, Plunk dink dat Greg se pa baie lang tyd in die tronk gaan sit. He talks to Greg and he says to him, listen man, you exposed your dad's criminal activities. It is what it is. You have to move on. He's going to be in jail for a long time. You have to build a new life. So he's actually he's got more depth to him than we initially probably thought, especially from the first book to now, in the first few chapters until now. Okay. Greg remember that woman when he was driving towards Cape Town, still moving towards Stellenbosch. She recognized him at a guest house. Oops, there's a typo there. Guest house. And she said to him, hey, when are you going to catch the baker? Fast track is to apprehend, to catch. Okay. And it's kind of there, and this is an important moment in the book, very important. I mean, he knew it was coming. Okay, he decides that he's going to do something about it. What can he do about his dad being in jail? What can he do about this terrible thing that he's done? The only ethical way forward in his mind is for him to expose the identity of the baker as well. He slipped through the cracks, remember? He escaped from that web. Okay. Sy pa en Doc Pienaar weet wie hy is. That's an interesting one. I didn't quite realize that. Maybe I missed it in the first book, but well, obviously, okay, so they would know who he is, but they didn't want to say. That's what's interesting. I mean, imagine going through the court case and hearing your sentence and not giving up the baker. Like, I'm really wondering why. How is he keeping them quiet? They must probably know that the baker's influence is such that even if they're in jail, he can get to them, he can harm them. So he must be a very, very powerful guy. That's the only reason why they would keep quiet, isn't it? Not out of loyalty, I don't think. But we'll see. Again, there's this web metaphor that keeps popping up, and he wants to now set a trap for the baker. And this a trap like a spider's web, is a trap as well. And every spider's web starts with a single strand. That's what he says. That's quite a clever, I quite enjoyed that. He says, elke spinneweb begin met een silwer draadjie. Every web, somewhere it's not a web. When it starts, it's just a single strand. And then you build from there. Hy het nog sy kuberkrakery vaardighede. That's just my comment. He still has his hacking skills. He's busy setting a web to catch the baker. That's also just my interpretation. It's not directly in the book. Then he thinks of this rhyme. Now, I meant to discuss this earlier, but forgot. The butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. Okay. Remember, we're looking for the baker. We know who the other two are. So I researched a bit. Where does this thing actually come from? This rhyme. How does it link in with the book? And I found it. So I think I did. So the origin of the rhyme is quite difficult to understand. It's very old and it changed, morphed a little bit into different things. But it comes down to this. 3 men with, and this is the message of the rhyme, right? And I'll explain the historical link now. But 3 men with aansien means with some importance in the community, upstanding men, okay, like working professional men, okay. They are caught out, uitgevang, with their criminal deeds, and then the media and the community, word bewus, becomes aware of it, and they lose their reputations. Okay, that's the punch behind the thing. And how do we get there? Well, the original story was from 1798, and then it changed a little bit. After that, it was rub-a-dub-dub, 3 maids in a tub. That was the original. Okay, rub-a-dub-dub, 3 men in a tub. It changed to that later, but the original one starts off with 3 maids in the tub. And the story is that there were these 3 young women. They were bathing in a tub at a market. Okay, so if you can, like an old market in the 1700s, and 3 naked women are sitting in there, and there's like men from the community watching them, okay, obviously for entertainment, and then 3 of them decide to jump into the tub, and then they get chucked out. They get thrown out by the market owner for their unacceptable behavior. How can you be naked in a tub with women in public? It's a public market. And so they lose their reputation. They get a bad rap. The townspeople talk about it. So if you can make the connection, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, professional men, Doc Pienaar, Greg's dad, Turret Media. We don't know who the candlestick maker is, but he has to be someone clever if he can make a virus. Okay, maybe like a chemist or a chemical engineer or something. Okay, and they have fallen from grace. They are all over the media. They're in jail. Okay, and the baker is on the run. Okay, so that's the interesting historical link. Will they ask this? I seriously doubt it. But if you can maybe make this connection in an essay or something that you write, that's just marks, man. That's really impressive stuff. If your teacher sees that, he'll be like, wow, this kid, this is an A. Like, has to be an A. Okay, if one of my students do this, I would be super, super impressed. Okay, chapter 7. We're going to do 8 and 9 and 10. It's a longer video. Okay, tape machine. Greg starts. He writes down everything he knows about the baker. And chapter 7 is like a revision of Onderwêreld, okay, of what we know. What do we know about the baker? He's part of Project Nursery Rhyme. He made the virus. He has knowledge of pharmacology. He's got geen persoonlike besonderhede nie, nothing. He searches through the internet, and eventually he finds a photo of his dad with some doctor. There's his dad with a doctor, and they were involved in some community project, okay, some charity thing. All right, and the name of the doctor is underneath, Dr. Rian Troup. Greg's not fooled by this charity, community, friendly vibe thing. Criminals do that to hide behind a smoke screen. Okay, And Greg thinks, and then he remembers that Dr. Troup, he's quite a creepy guy. Him and his wife were at their house with other guests. Him and his wife were dancing away there. This was a party. And it was shortly before they would have left to a holiday in Europe. The Troup couple. Okay, they would have left to Europe. Rian Troup. He looked friendly to Greg. And he spoke to Greg a little bit about Lawson College and blah, 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 and what's his future plans, and tried to encourage him. And at that stage, John was still alive. And he was at that stage a teenager at Lawson College. Greg was still about to go there, so he was still in primary school. Okay. John, he saw right through this guy. He saw something different. Something was off about this guy. Okay. He looked vreemd, strange. You must learn this vocab. So hande het knoppe. He had this like knobbly hands. And these, again, there's the word, webs of blue veins on his hands. Again, the link, skakel is a link to the title. Maybe he's the baker. Okay. It's all a web of mystery. Okay, so the metaphor kind of forms layers in the book. I think that's the best part of the book, actually. That's the smartest part. He had more descriptions of this guy. He had thin lips, and then he had teeth all the same size. That's creepy. You get those old men with those false teeth, and all the teeth are the same size. Just like, it doesn't look normal. It looks horrible. And then his voice had like a little light vibration. So stem is his voice. Greg Warner, okay, obviously he wonders, can this guy be the baker? Then Greg decides to go back to Plus Ultramed's website. Good place to start, makes sense. And he sees if he can find a photo of Rian Troup. But he goes, obviously the website's off, it's disabled, because it's no longer available. The whole company ran to ground after the head of the company went to jail. Doc Pinare. Okay. He gets a message from his mom. Mom is important. Okay, we can't forget about his mom. She lives alone now, at this stage still. Someone's coming. But sy laat weet dat sy vir 'n week weggaan. She's going away for a week. Okay. Greg remembers something. He says you can find, if you use one of your hacking tools or interesting Google tools, Wayback Machine, you can use that and you can find the archived websites. Archief van webtuistes wat nie meer geactiveer is nie. That's not activated anymore. They've been disabled. Google doesn't delete it. They've gone to one like a old dark server somewhere. They store it. Anyway, he gets the information back in your organogram, the organogram, where they show who's at the top and then who's who in the company. Kyk Greg 'n foto van Dr. Rian Troup. There he is. Boom, boom. He was involved with Plus Ultra Med. Interesting. Okay. Then he Googles the doctor's name. He gets a lot of news websites. He was caught with, and I'm not going to say this word, otherwise my video will be demonetized. Okay, but you can guess what it is. Sy vrou het hom gedagvaar, and when his wife found out that something shocking like that was happening, she sued him for divorce, and then he hung himself in jail. Okay, he tore pieces of a blanket up and somehow hung himself in jail. Okay. Then there's another photo. He sees this Dr. Troup's broer. This is now where they're at his grave, right? Where am I saying this? In a photo, oh, sorry, I didn't say it, but it's in a photo at his grave. He sees three people. Troup's brother. Don't know who this guy is. Okay. A sad woman. Don't know who it is. Could be his wife. And, interestingly, his dad. Okay, so there was a close relationship between Chris Owen, Greg's dad, and this guy. Okay, Dr. Jan Troup. Okay, and he checks the dates. This all happened in his matric year, so the time corresponds. It's the same year as Project Nursery Rhyme. Same timing, good timing. It would make sense. Okay. Kon Rian Troup die baker gewees het? Is the baker dead then? Okay, so he's searching for a dead man now. So what's happening here? Okay, chapter 8. Donker patrone, dark patterns. Greg begins sy web span. Now he's like, okay, he's on it now. The adrenaline's kicked in. He's got his hacker's hat on. He's looking for information about Mevrou Troup. Maybe she can provide information. Somewhere he finds her number. She was doing fundraising for breast cancer at some stage. Contact number on the internet, right there. And he finds it. Boom. At first she doesn't answer. Then she phones back. Interesting. This woman's drunk, okay? Tongue is slurring. She's obviously got a drinking issue, okay? Greg's approach was pretty poor, I must say. He was like so direct, like, hi, I'm Greg Owen, you know, and my dad, you know. So she immediately knows who he is. And Greg asks her straight up, would your husband maybe have been involved in Project Nursery Rhyme? And she was quite talkative. And then suddenly, when you ask that question, she puts the phone down. Greg phones again, and again, phoned a few times, I think, and then obviously she blocked his number. Greg span talle ander webbe. He looks for Mevrou Troup en haar man, but everything ends in a dead end. He keeps searching. He feels like he's stuck in a doolhof. Lovely Afrikaans word. A doolhof is a maze of questions without answers. Okay, so he's still searching. Chapter 9, een van ons, one of us. Greg meets an interesting guy, Dane February. Remember, everyone avoids Greg because they know who he is. This guy comes and sits next to Greg in the class, and he says to Greg, listen, bud, you're one of us. Despite the fact that everyone knows who you are, you're one of us, so chill, man. Seems like quite a nice character. Greg sit by die workout cafe in die gym om iets te eet en drink. That's later. He probably had a gym session. Now he's sitting at the workout cafe. Suddenly, here's Dirk Skitter. This guy is like intense, man. He's like an ex-policeman, and he comes and surprises Greg there while he's having a Powerade and some lunch. And he says, Greg, I've been doing research about you. And he asks him, are you still busy with your hacking? Greg kind of doesn't answer, and Dirk says, I'll take that as a yes. Ek vat dit te sê ja. It's terrible Afrikaans, but it's simple. I'm trying to keep the vocab simple, so you can remember it. Dirk vra om verskoning. Interestingly, he apologizes about the incident at the mall there, at the gallery. Okay. Hy vra dat Greg vir Plank moet sê dat hy weer vir Lisa mag kuier. He says, listen, you can tell your buddy Plank that he can visit my daughter again. It's fine. Okay, well, I know from reading ahead that she was devastated. Absolutely devastated that she couldn't speak to Plank, that her father reacted in that way. That's probably got something to do with the apology. Okay. He warns Greg, Varsky is warned that hacking is very dangerous. Dirk vertel dat hy in die polisie was. He was in the police, but he was medically boarded. Medies ongeskik verklaar. Good luck with that one. For sy stress. He's stressed out and he's highly strung. And I think Greg then says, well, I'm glad you're better. And Dirk was like, who says I'm better? I'm not better. What are you talking about? So the man's quite highly strung, but he's got a skill set. Okay. And we may or may not see him again meet him again in the near future. Last one, let's push. Hoofstuk 10, courier. Okay, courier. Okay, courier company. Greg's home after a long day. He stops at the front desk of there's like a block of flats, I think. Doesn't really, can't really picture it, but there's a parcel that waits for him at the front desk. He goes up to his woonstel, up to his flat. He's just arrived home. Plonk comes in, boom, plonks himself down there. He helps himself to a beer. He complains about girls. Okay, something happened between him and Lisa. And then his stomach, his beer pants, his beer belly that's growing. Remember at school he was a skinny guy, played lock. This is his name, Plank. And he's growing a beer belly. I can certainly relate to that. And he says Lisa is kwaad vir hom. He had a Tinder profile that she saw. So he was seeing her and he still had a Tinder profile. She didn't react well. Okay. And yeah, so that's what's between them now. Then Plank mentions that someone's watching his flat. It's a man with a black motorbike, a leerbaadjie, Levi's hemp, and a helmet with a gesichtskerm, a visor that's darkened. So I don't know why, like if you want to blend in, this is what you should not look like. A black motorbike, a leather jacket, Levi t-shirt, and a helmet with a visor. So, okay, that's a bit silly. Okay. Greg maak die pakkie oop. Finally, he opens the parcel, the package. There's a letter inside. Okay. Miskien sal dit jou help om die baker op te spoor. Maybe, sorry, I should have translated this. Maybe this will help you track down the baker. Okay, what does it mean? Greg mentions to Plank, because Plank sees this now, right? So he confesses, he says, listen, I'm busy with hacking again, and I want to find the baker. Now Plank knows. He's the only one who knows what Greg is up to. Inside there's a brown notebook. This is important detail. Please remember this. With yellow pages. It's slightly burnt on the side. The pages are slightly blackened by fire. Inside there are lots of formulas, like chemical formulas. There's a diagram of those like chemistry things. I don't know what you call it, but look on page 54. It's there. Of a chemical compound. So there's the chemical breakdown of a compound, and then this word Valkyrie. Important word. This is very important. Okay. What is Valkyrie? It mentions in the beginning of the next chapter, but I thought I'd put it here as well. Valkyrie, they were goddesses. Those, if you've watched Vikings and that. And Valhalla is the place where you go as a dead warrior. So if you die in battle, then you go to Valhalla. If you don't die in battle, you don't go to Valhalla. But only the ones that the Valkyrie goddesses choose. Only those go to those big, it's like somewhere in the sky, big dining halls where you eat and drink ale for eternity. Okay, so every Viking, Norwegian kind of person in that age would want to die in battle. That's your whole goal in life, is to die in battle. That's your purpose. But they also use magic to follow through on their wishes. Okay, so that's Valkyrie. Now that's remember this, please. Okay, that's very important. Okay, that's 34 minutes. Let's kill it there. Hope this is helping. Please follow me. Please share it with everybody. It will really help me to keep going. It takes me, I started at 7 this evening. It's now 1 o'clock in the morning. By the time I load this, it'll be 2 o'clock. It takes an hour to load it, so it's a lot of work. So please support me. I really, really appreciate it. And if you can leave a kind comment, I'd also appreciate it. Have a good day and happy 2024.